Please welcome our next speaker, Sara Jo Larsen, a solutions architect. Today, she will be presenting D365 Field Service Focus, Remote Assist for Field Techs. Please stick around after Sara's session for a live Q&A.
Hi everyone, welcome to Dynamics Con. I'm super excited to be here today. My name is Sara Jo Larsen. I'm a solutions architect with Stone Ridge Software. I've been in the Microsoft landscape for the past 8 years, but really fell in love with Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement, formerly CRM. I'm a certified change management practitioner, and throughout my time working in customer engagement, I've been a part of a number of global field service initiatives and really love the tool and that industry in particular. So throughout today's session, as I'm talking through Remote Assist for field service techs, please feel free to put any comments, questions in the chat pane, and then I'll be there at the very end to respond to your questions live. So I'm really eager to talk to everyone today about Remote Assist. This tool is, in my opinion, on the cutting edge of Microsoft technology and really on the cusp of what I think the future of field service tools really looks like. So let's dive in. There are really two devices that Remote Assist can be used with. The first is Dynamics 365 Remote Assist with Hololens. So this tool is a virtual reality hands-on assistance tool with a remote collaborator. So in this example, a remote collaborator can in real time see what a field service technician sees and guide and interact them with virtual reality elements that appear in the direct eye line of the field technician using HoloLens. Super exciting. The second is Dynamics 365 Remote Assist for mobile. So this is that typical mobile experience. It's an app installed on the field service technician's mobile device or tablet. And this is essentially a video call application that allows for some of the same embedded interaction tools. And it's especially great if you're thinking about those really hard to reach places on certain repairs or assets. Again, the remote collaborator sees and interacts with the field technician in that mobile call experience to guide a repair or a specific process. Today, our focus will be on the mobile experience, partly because I don't happen to have a HoloLens on hand, but it gives a familiar experience and really integrates seamlessly with the Field Service Dynamics 365 app. So let's talk about the real benefits of Remote Assist. There are a lot of them. So with this tool, technicians can really solve those problems in real time. So technicians can share their real-time view with experts in remote locations to get the help that they need. This really helps organizations reduce travel time and cost. Remote inspectors can walk the site without having to be on site, right? So they can send a field service technician out to a client site or the site of an asset to assess product quality, perform quarterly or annual inspections, or do equipment testing by using that Remote Assist and Microsoft Teams to collaborate with the person that's actually in the field. They can also communicate detailed and complex instructions visually. So rather than communicating instructions via just an audio call, on-site workers and their remote collaborators can use drawings, arrows, drawing tools to refer to specific parts of a machine or asset. These annotations are anchored right in the remote assistant user space, and both the remote collaborator and the on-site worker can interact with those tools. We want to be able to scale expert knowledge. So imagine a world where we can enable experts to effectively share their knowledge from anywhere in the world. So maybe instead of hiring 20 people with the skill to fix a certain machine, maybe you hire 1 or 2 that can even be scheduled to remotely assist on specific jobs. And then I also like to think about the training applications of this that are huge. So this tool is a perfect training application. Using Remote Assist, we can train new field technicians on new technologies and processes seamlessly without having to have them even be on site or in person. We also want to be able to bring critical information into view. Technicians and inspectors can pull in work order information from Dynamics 365 Field Service and call the resource assigned to support them. Technicians and inspectors no longer need to carry around big, giant paper manuals to perform their repair or inspection. If the technician is using Remote Assist on HoloLens specifically, remote collaborators can actually insert reference images or schematics or other helpful information directly into the technician's physical space. So they can refer to the schematic while also working heads up, hands-free on the HoloLens. If the technician is using Remote Assist on mobile, remote collaborators can share reference images, schematics, similarly to the HoloLens for viewing just on the mobile device. And lastly, using HoloLens, this is kind of the cool piece, and I wish I had a HoloLens to demo this, but using HoloLens, field techs can even navigate Remote Assist using their voice. And so this is a hands-free experience where when they're connected to the HoloLens, it supports voice commands in various languages for every single feature, even in a loud industrial environment. So pretty cool. Let's first discuss what this looks like from the technician's point of view. Basically, with both the HoloLens and the mobile tools, the technician will have a very user-friendly, Microsoft-like experience for the video call. The field technician can drop virtual overlay elements onto the screen to point at something or reference questions they may have in real time with the conversation they're having with the remote collaborator. In turn, they can also see real-time updates from the collaborator as well. The tools are really purposely meant to be super succinct, very easy to use, and really appear in a similar fashion on both sides. So let's talk about the remote collaborator's point of view. The remote collaborator is kicked back and comfy at a desk somewhere, maybe at home in their pajamas, but using a tool they already use every day, which is Microsoft Teams. The only key difference in their experience is that they have this mixed reality toolbar where they're again able to interact with that real-time conversation, put overlays on the screen and really show the field service technician what they're supposed to be working on. Using this version of the tool, however, their mixed reality toolbar can also, again, pull up those drawings, those schematics, or other references. And so that's something they can do with their mixed reality toolbar that the field technician can't really do. And we don't want them to, right? We want to surface up information to them really easily. So the real advantage here, and we talked about this when we discussed training earlier, is how easy is it for a remote collaborator to just simply click record like they would on any other Microsoft Teams meeting? Not only can we store this information on the work order in the field service app, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but imagine how easy it is to record snippets for future learning so that we have kind of bite-sized videos that we can train other technicians with in the future. So some great opportunities here with using some of the native tools that we use every day. So ultimately, gone are the days where we're going to have field service technicians lugging around an entire library of manuals in their truck that they have to reference. And of course, just like anything else, books are out of date. So as somebody's carrying a manual today that has all the instructions they need, tomorrow it might not be worth it. So instead, we really want to have them have this instant access to not only an expert, but complex diagrams and specs that they need to have on hand. So you can really see that this is an exciting and critical tool in our increasingly paperless world that we're living in. So you could certainly use Remote Assist as a standalone tool. It's available as a standalone tool. However, the power of the capabilities really increase when we combine it with Dynamics 365 Field Service. So let's talk about how we can use Remote Assist with Dynamics 365 Field Service applications. So there are two apps that are required to be installed on a technician's device if you're using Field Service in conjunction with Remote Assist. The Field Service Dynamics 365 app. So obviously this is the new app that Microsoft has developed. We still have the Field Service mobile app, the historical RESCO version that can also be used with Remote Assist. But for the purposes of talking through this, let's talk about the latest and the greatest. The second app that they need installed on their device is the Dynamics 365 Remote Assist app. So this is a very simple app, very limited in its tool set. And it's really meant for just that interaction and connecting with those remote collaborators. Now, before you say, wait, we don't want our field technicians being in and out of two apps. I get it, not to worry. This app works seamlessly together. And so we have that kind of primary experience we want to create for the field service technicians in the field service app. So because we only want them working in that one app and we want it to be the primary app for our technicians out in the field, we want to set up the work order so that the technician can identify their incoming jobs, really stay in one record throughout the duration of their on-site work. And in order to make this as easy as possible, we're going to set our support contact from within the work order before booking the technician. When a work order is generated based on our incident type, in this example, maybe it's replacing a broken part. Let's say there's someone identified as the specific remote support collaborator for this type of repair. Here, we can set a specific support contact using Power Automate. Of course, another option would be triggering it off of work order type or some other parameter you want to have preset on the work order. Of course, they are not limited, however, to getting support from only this person. So they will have access to the entire tenant directory. And we'll talk about that when we speak about licensing in a few minutes. But this really gives them that easy access from the work order to get in touch with someone quickly who has relevant expertise related to the job that they're working on. So let's take a peek at how painless it is to move between the two applications. You'll have to bear with me because I'm sure, as you can imagine, how hard this is to demo with one person controlling it all. Like I said, I don't have a HoloLens sitting around, and you're going to get a sneak peek at my very ancient furnace. But here on the main page of the Field Service app, I can see my work orders that are due for the day, and I can access all the main functions of this work. And if I go into the work order here, I can access kind of all the main functions here that I'm expecting, my arrival time, my travel details. But let's go into service and say that I'm able to complete the first two tasks pretty easily. Those I can knock out on my own. I have experience doing that. So maybe I'll just go ahead and mark both of those complete. But when I get to start performing the repair, maybe I get stuck on something. I get, partway through the task itself, 50%, well, 45, I guess, in this case. And then I'm stuck. I can't move forward. Maybe I need some additional assistance. So from this application, we can, down in the bottom right corner, launch Remote Assist. So that brings us right over to the other app. Pretty seamless experience. It's pulling up my support contacts, so Alan Steiner here, and I can go ahead and launch the call to talk to him. So here you're going to notice a very Teams-like experience while dialing him, as well as, I'm starting the call. This is kind of familiar to the tools that we use every day. So I'll dial into Alan. Hopefully he'll answer the phone. And I might take a minute to talk to him about what I'm having issues with, give him some background and steps of what I did leading up to the repair. And you'll notice by default, I have a couple tools available to me. I have right at the top, I have my mixed reality toolbar, and then I also have kind of a default arrow that it's giving me to be able to use right away. So again, I can use these tools inlaid in my app to really talk through my issues. So in this example, this is again, you looking at my, my ancient furnace system down in the basement, but here I can, navigate and play with the arrows and kind of point to maybe multiple items and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this and these wires. I don't know where they go. And maybe we're having some dialogue here about what I'm interacting with. And then in turn, again, he can share that with me. I can take a snapshot of the diagram. So I can always also use this, personally to save to my device. And then I can also post this back to a work order so that it's visible in the timeline. And it's just going to refresh here to the Dynamics 365 app. And then we'll be back into our work order. So that's kind of the basic fundamentals of using that app. It's going to kind of go on repeat here, but you'll see, maybe I'm at this point getting a customer signature and getting ready to kind of close out that work order how I normally would. So you can see it's a pretty simple user experience, even though we're asking to install those two apps on the technician's device. It's relatively painless, and we know that field service technicians really like painless. So after I log this back to the work order, it will appear in the timeline as a phone call record. Now, as we discussed earlier, the call could be recorded in Teams using kind of those standard Microsoft Teams tools. But this is simply a record that is timestamped saying, hey, I called someone for support on this work order. So certainly if we wanted metrics around the frequency and duration of how Remote Assist is used, that way people can measure its effectiveness, how often is it helping us solve problems, that's really available for us in terms of reporting. And again, if you have any questions after seeing that demo, feel free to drop them in the chat. So this is all well and great, but let's talk a little bit about setup. So even when I was first exploring this technology, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a complex setup. It's going to be, a whole lot of work to get this up and running, but it is really, really simple. So I wanted to talk through that so everyone knows how painless this is. All right. So a couple of prerequisites to talk through here. So first, we need subscriptions to Dynamics 365, that's obvious, and Dynamics 365 Remote Assist. So a couple notes here. Dynamics 365 Remote Assist is currently not included in any D365 licensing bundle. It's its own standalone SKU at this time. The tenant can have more than one Dynamics 365 instance. So Dynamics 365 Remote Assist has the option to select an instance from within the app. And that's where the Field Service app is installed as well. So for the Field Service app, something really specific here is that in order for the technicians to access Remote Assist, I don't know what this reason is. I tried to find out, but they need the My Bookings for Today view available to them, meaning that you're going to want to ensure that the field service version that you're using is 8.2 or later. Next is appropriate licenses. So let's talk about what the technician needs. The technician needs to have Dynamics 365 Field Service and the Dynamics 365 Remote Assist license. Seems pretty straightforward. The Remote Collaborator, however, really only needs a Microsoft Teams license. So like I talked about earlier, as a technician, I can go ahead and access that entire directory and reach really anyone in my organization that has a Teams license. And lastly, the technician will need both of the apps installed on either their phone, their tablet, or their Hololens. So here we take the typical steps to install Dynamics 365 Remote Assist in our environment. We'll sign into the Power Platform Admin Center as an admin, as either a D365 admin, a global admin, or a Power Platform Service admin. They can all perform this. From our environment, we then click on the name of the environment where we want to see Remote Assist appear. We select the resources, then D365 apps, either from the top nav bar or from the card in the main view. You'll then see the appropriate status for applications in which we have update available. After initiating the update, the environment details will show installing next to it. And as with any installation, I'm sure those that have worked in Dynamics know this, the process takes a little while, so you got to let it run its course. And of course, once the update has been completed, the status will change to installed. Pretty easy. So the other thing I wanted to talk about here is really kind of baking in that concept of a remote support collaborator. So here we want to introduce the concept of this person and really get them embedded into our normal work stream. So here you'll notice that I've taken incident type, created a row or a field. I'm going to try to use new nomenclature on the incident type table and call it remote support collaborator. So that means for this incident type, maybe there's one specific person or even one specific team that I want to add as the collaborator here. And then I add a row to the incident type form. And then for each incident type, I want to identify a remote support collaborator that I want to be available for this type of work. So I might go in and do that for every incident type I have in the system. Next, what I did is built a cloud flow to populate this on the work order. So when the work order is updated with primary incident type, I set a trigger and went and got the incident type row so that I could go find that remote support collaborator that I have baked into that incident type. And then I just simply updated the work order with the remote support collaborator that I want to appear as the support contact and embed that in the work order form that I'm displaying to the field service technician. So they see that person listed as their collaborator. Another way to think about this, it could be that, in examples where we know for a fact we're going to need a remote collaborator, perhaps we actually book time on the remote collaborator's calendar. If there's a very complex job that needs to be done, we might want a world where 2 bookable resources are booked. One of them is our on-site bookable resource, and the other one's a remote one. In this case, if we want them to have, let's say this bookable resource number 2, if we want them to have full access to the work order, of course, they would need a field service license. But if that wasn't necessary, maybe they're just scheduled, we need it to show up on their calendar, we could give them just the Teams license and then perhaps set them up as a bookable resource as if you were setting up a third-party contractor or a vendor. So something to think about, there's a couple different ways, just like anything else in Microsoft, to kind of achieve the same thing, but a couple different ways to think about solving problems that are unique to your organization. So Microsoft has laid out a couple different deployment scenarios because I feel like some of the most common questions, and certainly if you have questions on this, drop them in the chat, is, what if I'm doing things cross-tenant, or, what if I need to give a HoloLens to my customer? And so I just wanted to kind of talk about the 3 scenarios that Microsoft has kind of recommended and what they allow in terms of licensing. So scenario 1 is where call participants have licenses within the same tenant. That's kind of the simple example that we looked at today, right? The technician and their support collaborator are both within the same tenant. So this would be the most standard implementation. And obviously we talked about the licenses they would need within that tenant. Scenario 2 is a multi-tenant collaboration. And so here, a company may have multiple organizations or business units, each with their own tenant, and they want to collaborate via remote assist calls. And so that is an option available here as well. Scenario 3 is where, maybe we want vendors and customers joining a one-time call to get support on their machine. So there are several scenarios in which a remote assist user may want to be able to enable an external user without a remote assist license, or even a Microsoft Teams license, such as like a B2B vendor, B2B customer, or B2C customer, to use a remote assist call on an ad hoc, maybe one-time basis. So that is an option as well. And scenario 4 is where vendors and customers use full remote assist capabilities. So, imagine a world where, for example, we have an OEM that may want to offer premium customer service by providing their customer with a HoloLens, right? They sell them this piece of equipment, they get the HoloLens with it, and we want to enable them to call and get support on that complicated asset as much as they want. And so, a bunch of different options for us to really accomplish the uses, many uses of remote assist. So to sum this up, there are really a ton of great reasons for an organization, especially in 2021, we're in a remote world, to consider this as a really powerful tool to support their organization. Ultimately, this helps our field technicians solve problems faster. I know in the field service world, we always want to increase that first time fix rate, right? We don't want to have to be going back on site multiple times. We can empower collaboration among peers. I think this is so important. If we think about how digital our organizations are really becoming, allowing people to work with each other across platforms, across applications, across different problem solving, problems that they face, I should say. We want to be able to give them the ability to do that. And then, be a constantly evolving organization, right? Through knowledge sharing and training. The smarter we get and the more we share knowledge across people, just like we're doing here at DynamicsCon, it's so critical to an organization and really helps, streamline growth. And then ultimately, we just want to solve problems across geographies smarter. So I kind of brought this up a little bit earlier. Instead of hiring all these experts that have to live in certain geographies to just be close to your customers or the assets that they're trying to repair, that's not really an issue anymore, right? You can have your experts working from home, from anywhere, and they're able to kind of dial directly into a field service technician and really put knowledge and tools directly in their hands. Super exciting. I'm so it's been fun to play with this tool, and I'm so anxious to see real life applications of this. So again, to kind of wrap it up, I'm super excited to be here at DynamicsCon. Thank you so much for joining. And in a moment, you'll be joining me for a live chat. Feel free to put any questions you have in there and let's talk about it. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Thanks so much for being at DynamicsCon. I'm super excited to be here and talk about remote assist today. What questions do we have?
We actually did have one that just came in from Dominic. Dominic is asking, how many people can be in on a support session using each method?
Yeah, because the remote assist actually leverages Microsoft Teams, we can go ahead and add people to that chat. I think it really is intended for that one-to-one, but it is possible to go ahead and add additional people to your chat session.
All right, excellent. Another question here. So can you give us some examples of industries that might benefit from remote assist right away, and in what way do you envision them using this application?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think any industry, right away, what comes to me is repair heavy industries, right? Where we have complex pieces of machinery out in the field. And like I mentioned earlier, where we'd normally be dragging along tons of repair manuals with us. I think that's an immediate application that's super easy to think about, especially where, again, with complex machinery, we might have technicians that don't have experience with a specific type of asset. And so really, I think that's the immediate low-hanging fruit where we can get people, in and using the system and connect with people who actually know those pieces of machinery in a good way.
Okay. So Sergio, can you tell me what type of documents can you use with Remote Assist to share with the technician?
Yeah, so the remote collaborator can use any type of document, whether it's a PDF, a photo file. The only thing that's kind of restricted is that they can't play a video for the person there. So it's, Word documents, PowerPoints, PDFs, things like that can be surfaced to the technician.
Okay. Excellent. So if a technician has remote assist, can they reach out to anyone in their organization? Could I call them on the fly?
Yeah, great question. You can actually, so once you launch the Remote Assist application, you'll notice that you would have a global address book available to you. So you can really dial into anyone in your organization. Hopefully they pick up the phone. You're desperately trying to, solve a problem out in the field. So that's kind of why I baked in the concept of, how can I have a dedicated person available and someone I know I can get on the line to assist with those things, but certainly you can reach out to anyone in the organization.
All right. Any other questions that folks might have? Feel free to add that to the chat. Okay, I have one more question here from Dominic.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just sat here. So can multiple Hololenses collaborate on a support call? Great question. I didn't actually test out that scenario. I don't think that that's a capability right now. It seems like it really is just dialing into that kind of Teams-based application. But I imagine that there's a world where Microsoft will want to incorporate that in their future. That seems like it could be really cool.
Yeah, really good question. What else?
Yeah, I mean, I really think this is a way that we can think about our new COVID reality, right? That there are a ton of people working from home. We might have experts working from home. And so thinking about that in our real world situation that we're living in right now, how can we limit the amount of technicians we have out in the field? I think this is a really immediate answer, right? We can, limit our field-based staff down to, a smaller audience, but still have that ability to collaborate with people who might be in work from home situations. So I think this is a reality that we're stepping into a lot more given our COVID world that we're living in.
Yeah, good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think about other applications that I've seen. So Remote Assist is so new, but obviously I've been on field service projects here for a while. So I'm thinking about a world where I worked with an offshore drilling company, right? And they had limited people in certain geographies with passports and visas that could only get to specific locations. I mean, literally flying them in a helicopter offshore. And so if we think about that and the need to have people travel to complex or really remote geographies, I think this is a way for us to think about, all right, well, how do we staff people in those geographies, but have the experts, instead of having to spend all of the travel costs and everything to get them out into the field, we can connect people together and really answer questions as a team. And so, I think there's a ton of realities that people will be facing, and just the idea that Microsoft is moving into more of this virtual reality space is super exciting.
We did have 2 additional questions that have come in. So Dominic's asking, is there any known usage yet in the medical arena?
Ooh, awesome. I have not seen any medical applications as of yet, but I can think of I'm sure there's a ton of potential use cases, right? If you think about, someone monitoring a remote surgery or, training applications, it just seems like there's unlimited potential there. I don't know that this is going to be necessarily locked down to a specific industry. I can see a ton of use cases. Definitely.
And then Liz asked, are there additional costs associated with leveraging this technology?
Great question. So if you go the HoloLens route, and again, the reason I've referenced that I don't have one of those laying around is they're pretty pricey. They're about $2,000 to $3,000 for a, virtual reality HoloLens set. So that is an additional cost on top of the licensing that we talked about earlier. But certainly for, industries that already, are used to having tablets or phones and devices in the field, those can be leveraged without any additional cost.
So the chat is actually getting pretty fun now. So Liz mentioned, can this be used with things like robots or drones? Or she said she was wondering, could it be? So Dominic had just before that mentioned, I'm sure the military uses similar tech for their purposes.
I'm sure. Yeah. With robots, I think that might be a little bit hard. It's certainly, just having played with the tools a little bit myself, they're definitely, I would say something I can interact with on my tablet and probably needs some human intervention to navigate with. But, sky's the limit, I'm sure. I always say you can do anything in Dynamics with enough time and enough money. People who know how to code. But yeah, that's exciting and probably something that Microsoft is going to want to invest in.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the team?
This is one of those added functionalities, just the power of the of Dynamics and the Power Platform working together. It's exciting to see everything new that constantly is coming out with the power of AI and Remote Assist and what's next.
Yeah, and you really think about real world applications. So, I've never met a field service technician that says, gee, I really love sitting with a tablet and filling out data, right? That's just kind of not part of our reality. And so it's like, well, how do we marry what we do and the data that we do need to capture, but also with real life applications where someone is actually solving a problem out in the field? It seems like something that's so obvious, but, has Dynamics done a great job of that in the past? I think we're evolving, and the way people do their work is evolving. And so it's just really exciting to see different ways of connecting tools like this to our traditional applications.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions from the chat?
All right. Well, again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us at DynamicsCon. This was, again, an exciting tool to play with, and I think the sky's the limit, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more future applications of Remote Assist in real life situations. So I'm excited. I hope that some great clients come along and we get to play on some fun projects. But in the meantime, really cool to explore this tool and really see what our future is looking like. So thanks again.
Great job, Sara Jo. Thanks, everyone.